Hi guys, welcome back to Spill in the Tea podcast with Kiki
and Haylin.
And this is episode
28.
Period. Fit check time. My hair, I bought it. I dye it myself.
This necklace is cute.
My necklace is from, I don't know, somewhere in Europe. Shout out, babe. My shirt is from Haylin's Closet. Brand is Hunter's Brown. Mm-hmm. And then my jeans are from the NEX.
Oh, the NEX. I missed the NEX.
I still have my valid card until 2026, so let me know. I'll hook you up.
Okay. So this is from...
No, your hair.
My hair. I did my
own
hair. I also cut my membership from Dry Bar because we're cutting expenses.
Wow.
And this is like Local Fever, Is Local Fever local owned in Waikele?
Girl, all those words.
And then this is from Target. And this pants is from Target as well.
Period. And where can I find that confidence?
Girl.
You can't buy it.
Yes.
Okay, so today, well, first of all, I've been trying to say this for the last 2 weeks, but we're officially past the halfway mark of podcast episodes. So initially when we launched this podcast on Q1, of course one of our main goals is to reach 1 million by Q1 2025, but also stay consistent and launch an episode every single week, which means 52 episodes
for 1 year.
For 1 year. And this is officially past our halfway mark. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about, well, you were going to say something about you were going to say something that was not related to.
Girl, I forgot. I this is like our 4th episode we're shooting. I think it's like 11 p.m. So I really want you to you got it.
She was going to say something important, but then we lost track of it. Anyway, today we are going to be talking about, in Spanish, perfeccionismo. Perfectionism. What is that?
Perfectionism. A lot of our teenagers in the cafe struggle with perfectionism, especially with social media these days. What that means is that you're comparing your life to other people on social media. You might be comparing yourself to other people in your classroom, or for my med students that I work with, you might be comparing yourself to other med students and other residents. And it can just become so exhausting that you only want to do things so perfectly. And if you are not going to do it perfectly, then you're just not going to do it. And a lot of times it can keep you stuck. A lot of times it can cause anxiety. A lot of times it can cause burnout. A lot of times it can cause just really feeling like unfulfilled in your life and never content and never feeling good enough. And so we really want to try to nip this in the bud, and we have to teach kids early on to be aware of perfectionism and not glorify perfectionism. I think
and I think that for the kids it's it's such a big word, but in very basic words, it's just you're trying to make everything be so perfect that, like Haylin said, you have all these negative emotions that come through when that version of perfect does not come to reality. And I think we really have to emphasize the importance of effort rather than perfectionism. How much effort you put into making something versus is it perfect or is it not? Because also who is really setting the standard of it being perfect? You know?
I think it's one thing to strive for excellence. That's something that I want all of us to do, and to unlock your potential. And even in our kids at the cafe, we want you to strive for excellence. But what is the difference between striving for excellence and perfectionism?
Well, first of all, again, it's really hard to measure what perfect for you is, because at times it has been something that has been defined by the internet, something that's not really real. And then trying to, what was the other word?
Striving for excellence?
Yes. And then that is trying your best,
Trying your best, yes.
Your best potential, I'm in a basketball court, I'm gonna throw the ball, may not be perfect, but I'm gonna try my hardest. I'm gonna try my best.
Right. And I think the mindset's a little bit different. So when you're striving for excellence, right, that takes risk, that takes courage. But at the end of the day, if you do your best, you feel good. Is that true, right?
Yeah.
Where perfectionism, the mindset is more like a scarcity mindset. It's more of like a mindset of fear, right? Like that I'm going to do this, and it's fueled by shame or the fear of shame. And if I can do this perfectly, if I can look this way perfectly, if I can work perfectly, if I can be the perfect mom, if I can be the perfect, right? Everything, then I can avoid criticism. And so that is a thought distortion, meaning it's not in touch with reality. And so many times in so many cultures, especially Asian culture, there's so much perfectionism that's ingrained into our kids. And so I want to make sure that we can talk about this today, and maybe we can share a little bit about our own personal lived experience with perfectionism, because trust me when I tell you that it is something that we have to continuously work on and be aware of, because perfectionism, especially with social media, is, I think, higher than ever.
I agree. I feel like society on the internet has really set a standard that is kind of, it's damaging our kiddos' mental health, because they're trying to strive to a level of perfectionism that, again, doesn't really exist. But I remember, I mean, it's hard, you know. I feel like growing up, your parents are always like telling you all these things, and then when you make a mistake, you feel really bad because it wasn't perfect, right? But you also need to understand that you need to embrace mistakes, because that gives you room for growth. You know, I remember when I was a teenager, I used to hate PE. I know a lot of you guys.
A lot of the kids hate PE.
They hate PE, so I get you guys. So I opted out of PE and decided to just do arts throughout high school. And I had a really hard time doing art, because I would start off really, really strong, but then like I would make a mistake and I would just start spiraling down, like my art is not good, this is not perfect, this is not to the teacher's standards. And every single year and every single year through my high school grades, every single art that I created actually ended up getting exposed in museums. And it just, she an artist.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow,
my mom kept all of them. I asked her to please give me some.
Auntie,
she was like, no,
send it to me.
she's like, these are my trophies.
Cute.
But yeah, I was really hard on myself, and I remember going home and being so drained and being so anxious, and like I wouldn't want to talk about art. Because
wait. So many of the kids at the cafe have the same problem. Like
the same problem.
So I'm thinking of all the kids I know that like they're just so hard on their art.
Yeah, and what I love the most is that, you know, they get very upset about it, but then when we go to events, people are like, oh my God, I want to buy your art. How can I get more art?
Oh my gosh, I can't say the name, but at least 3 of our kids that we know really well, they made over $200 on their art at the last event.
Yeah, so it's really nice to see that kind of growth in the kids, because they're realizing in their brain that actually it doesn't need to be perfect. I just have to try my best.
Right. Yeah. And I think if we talk about the Asian culture or like the Hawaii culture, I'm not trying to perpetuate these unhealthy stereotypes, but this is how I grew up, right? It's like you do get straight A's.
Yeah.
Like, or all the med students I work with, like they all get straight A's, or like that's just expected. It's not like, oh, good job, Kiki, you got straight A's. It's like, as you should, right? Or it's very much, you're gonna be a doctor, you're gonna be a lawyer, or you're gonna be a failure. Like, you know, like there's so much more. I'm not saying anything negative about doctors and lawyers. In fact, I absolutely love doctors and lawyers, but it's not the only profession that can provide a good living and that can provide a fulfilled life. And I would even argue that sometimes when you become addicted to perfectionism, like the medical culture, a lot of times in the medical culture or in the system in America, the health system is really, I guess, built on this fallacy of perfectionism, right? And not being able to make mistakes, and really this ultra competitive nature is what breeds this perfectionism in our kids and our youth. And a lot of times it makes them so risk adverse. And that's one thing I really want to talk about today, because it's important to have a healthy level of risk, and it's important to have a flexible way of thinking. It's called neuroplasticity. And that is the way that you can tell how emotionally intelligent someone is by the way that their neural pathways can be flexible and in their abilities to see other perspectives. And a lot of times with people who have perfectionistic tendencies, they're so rigid in their thinking that they're just unable to see a different perspective. And that can be detrimental to mental health.
Not only to mental health, but it really does affect the way that you interact with others, because not only you're expecting yourself to be perfect, but you're also expecting others to meet those high standards that you have created in your head. And also you are pressured by others not being perfect. So people think that perfectionism only affects you, but it really affects you and the people you surround yourself with.
Right. And oh my gosh, procrastination.
I was gonna bring that up. Oh my God, yes.
But it is a lot of times because of perfectionism
yes,
that you're
because you're so scared of not being perfect. You're scared of imperfection.
Or you're scared of, like, instead of doing it in a timely fashion, you're like, no, I'm gonna do it like exactly like OCD the way that I need to do it. But you know that that's gonna take so long that you just don't wanna do it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this, I have to shout out my med students, but I also have to shout out like attendings and regular physicians that I work with, because when we're talking about charting and we're talking about you bringing your charts home and every single night you're like up till 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, like charting, and that's just like normal, I would encourage you and I would implore you to say done is better than perfect in this chart. In these charts, you put like the ultimate necessary things in there, and then you get used to being good, and being done is better than being perfect in your charting, because a lot of times you're actually bringing that stress upon yourself and
it leads to burnout.
Right. And you do need to set those boundaries. Like, when I come home from this time to this time, like, I'm not going to be charting, like, no matter what. And so I just encourage people to try that. I know it might sound crazy to physicians, but I know many, many physicians who are able to do this, who are able to hold that boundary, who are not perfectionism, or they're not seeking perfection in their charting every single night, and they are so much happier.
Is there
No, you should talk about, you used to be like that on your emails too.
Yeah, I'm gonna get there. But I wanted to ask you.
Okay.
Has perfectionism affect you in any shape or form in your life, whether it's childhood or now, or at any point of your life? Are you a perfectionist person?
I don't think I am. What? What? Do you disagree? I don't think I'm ever.
Where's your pitch deck?
What you mean?
You're like, I need my pitch deck to be perfect. I'm like, just tell your story. Like, just tell your story. Like, that's gonna be enough.
That's true. Mm-hmm. But I don't think I'm a perfectionist, because I do so many things. Like, you can't do everything well. So, like, does it make sense?
No.
Okay, well, no, like, for real, like, I'm open. Like,
no, I just said it.
What?
Like your pitch
Like,
deck.
I do so many things that it's like, how could I even be perfect? Because, like,
oh my
it's
God,
impossible.
I have a great one, but she's grown out of it.
Okay.
So, like, in my first year, I was Haylin's nanny, and then I suddenly started managing her calendar. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I'm just gonna schedule everything in the same place, right? And then she would have like media appearances.
What
and then
kind
she
of?
would be like media appearances, and she would be texting me like, I don't have time to learn my stats. I have no stats. Like, how do you want me to show up with no stats? And like, because she always thought that she needed to have that piece of statistic, or else like people were not gonna believe her.
And who needs all the statistics now? Who needs all the statistics now? Don't
forget, it only takes one supportive adult to reduce suicide rate by 40%. You can be that adult.
Okay, but anyway, go ahead. Yeah. No,
yeah, so that was a good one.
I used to be very adamant about, like, I need stats. Like, I need the most current stats, and I need them now. But yeah, no. We're good.
We've grown.
Yes.
I think that the most recent... Oh, go ahead. She had a breakthrough. Say it before you forget.
Oh my gosh. I used to, like, with my first kid and my second kid. I don't think the third and fourth, but I used to be so crazy about their like clothes. Like if they had one little stain or something, like I would like change them out of it no matter what. Like I would never let them be dirty. That was so insane.
That's funny, but that is very like mentally exhausting, girly.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So I used to really try to be like the perfect mom before I had all these jobs that like I can't really like be the perfect anything because I have so many jobs now, right?
But again, like what's the meaning of perfect?
Right.
So you're not trying to be a perfect mom, you're just trying to be a mom.
Yeah, I'm trying to be the best mom I can be.
Yes, you're striving to be the best mom because the best mom for a kid is one that feeds their kids, that provides a ceiling over their head, that provides education and provides love. Yes. And I think that all of your kids are always going to grow up to know that they have a badass mom, that was a business owner, that fed them, that had fun with them, but above all, loved them unconditionally.
Thank you, Kiki.
Period.
That is very, very kind and a great reminder.
That's very cutesy, right? And you were very
mindful. So, what is our next? What else are we talking about?
Well, let me tell you guys. Okay, so when I started at Spill the Tea Cafe, of course, I had this imposter syndrome because I was like, wait, I have a bachelor's in biology. I have a like background in criminal justice. I was a nanny. Like, what do you mean you want me to like help you in a mental health clinic, right? So I remember when I would send emails, oh my God, I would get an email and then I would type the email because, you know, I'm ESL.
Oh, you're
English
so insecure
secondary language.
But at the same
time, I was
time,
so insecure about it. And I was like, I cannot just say, thank you, have a great day because it's not perfect enough. And like literally sending a 4 words email would take me like 15 minutes. And now I just type something, tell ChatGPT, refine it, make it better, and then send it.
That's
so I'm
great,
not perfect
Kiki.
Anymore.
No, but I'm
not aiming for perfectionism
But also,
anymore.
like, this is a good example. So you want to, like, have your English perfect, right? I don't even speak another language. I barely even speak English. Like, I speak, like, pidgin English. But that's a strength, that you're bilingual, right? Why are you trying to hide that? Like, why are you trying to, like... My point is that who cares that you have certain accent or whatever you're so, whatever, insecure about? Because I speak 2 languages. Do you know what I'm saying?
Period. Yeah, I think it just comes from, I had this one teacher in 7th grade. She died from a heart attack. Sad. But I was presenting for the entire class and I'm like never going to forget that. It was like traumatizing. She was a really bad teacher. And she just called me out in front of everyone and she was like, what? Do you not know English? I'm like, I live in Puerto Rico. Like, no, I don't know English. And she was like an American teacher. She was brought into her school to only teach kids English. So like, first of all, she came to colonize. Second, she was very rude and didn't really come from a place of love. And I think that whenever I would make a mistake on English, I would just be so hard on myself. Because instead of feeling like I tried my best, I just felt like it wasn't perfect enough.
And you felt like embarrassed or something.
Yeah, it was
That's
so
where the shame comes in,
yeah.
You know? And like, that is not a good approach to teaching, obviously.
It's not.
But at the same time, Kiki, you are evolved. You're no longer in that situation.
I'm not.
You've grown a lot. And so I'm really glad that you can
she's
be grateful.
Such a therapist.
I'm so glad you can be grateful that you're a bilingual queen.
I'm bilingual queen.
And how else can perfectionism show up in our life? Overworking,
overthinking,
putting it on your kids, like, you better blah, blah, blah. Like, don't make me look bad. Like, you better get straight A's. You better not look this way or that way, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I have to share this. It's so embarrassing. But when I was still like going through my growth phase and I didn't let Maddie wear an LGBT shirt to church because I don't want to deal with the people at the church. And Maddie told me like, well, I think he held it in for a long time. And then after a few months, he said like, are you embarrassed of me? Because you always say that you're supportive of me being LGBT, but then like you make me hide parts of myself in front of like certain people. And I think you maybe are embarrassed of me, but like you just don't want to say it.
Oh my God.
I like Baroque. Yeah. And I was like, no, never. Like, especially Matt. Sorry. Especially Matt is like such a good kid always. Like, I would never want him to feel like I'm embarrassed of him, right? And so that was the moment that I was able to shift and be like, oh, I gotta work on this, right? Like this perfectionism thing or whatever, like I don't wanna deal with criticism. And I've grown, right?
You've grown a lot.
I don't love criticism, but I'm okay with it now. I'm okay with it. I'm okay being misunderstood. I'm okay my kid being misunderstood. I'm okay, you know, allowing Matt to wear whatever he wants to wear. And I'm just so happy that he is fully expressive of who he is inside, right? And
it takes a lot of courage.
And I want that for all of our kids, because it really helps them develop their self-trust and their self-confidence and their self-worth, which is honestly like the opposite of perfectionism, because perfectionism is not equal to your self-worth. Your productivity or your accomplishments are not a reflection of your self-worth. And a lot of times we think that it is going to fulfill us in that way, and yet we continuously fall short and we continuously feel empty, or we strive, and we still don't feel fulfilled, and it's because of perfectionism, right? So
it's like you know, like soccer players, right? They are not always gonna score a goal, but they're just enjoying the game. You know what I mean? Like, just enjoy the ride. Do you have any?
Right.
If you can have one tip for only one, don't give five, only uno. A tip for a parent, what would that be?
For perfectionism?
Yeah, for ensuring that they don't feed that perfectionism and insecurities into their child.
I think number one.
No, only one.
Okay.
She was saying number one, only one.
I want you to look within yourself, parent, and I want you to ask yourself, where do you feel like you're being a perfectionist? If you can do that and you can admit to yourself, then that's gonna help your kid the most. But you also wanna talk to your child and listen to them. And if they don't wanna do something in terms of their career, or they don't wanna do something in terms of their job, right? Can you compromise with them? Can you listen to what they have to say and also like meet them halfway instead of saying, I don't care, it's my way or the highway? I know that's the way we were raised, but I'm asking you to challenge yourself and listen to your kids so you can meet them halfway.
A tip that I have for parents is just create a safe space for mistakes. I know you want really hard your kid to do things X, Y, and Z, but I think that's what's most important, is that you provide your kid a space where they can make mistakes and they can grow from it. I remember when I was Haylin's nanny, I was baking cupcakes with Maya because, you know, she loves everything kitchen, everything baking. And we were making cupcakes and she was cracking the eggs, and it was like 6 eggs to make brownies. Well, this 6th egg, instead of going in the jar, she cracked it in the corner and it went like outside the jar, and she got so upset. She started crying, and she doesn't like getting messy. So that for her was like, oh my God, it's not perfect enough. And then I told her like, Maya, it's okay. We'll clean it up. We still have more eggs left. We can just open a new egg and we'll fix it. And she was like, oh. And then she literally just wiped her tears, finished baking her cupcakes, and she was fine. So I think that really encouraging kids that, hey, it is okay to make mistakes and we're gonna figure it out together as we go can be very beneficial for both of you.
What do you think will happen if you're like, oh my God, you like cracked the egg outside, right? Because a lot of us...
They'll freak out. They're gonna start crying. They're gonna block themselves. They're not gonna wanna continue doing the activity because they're gonna be blocked by the fact that if I make another mistake, I'm gonna get in trouble. And that's just gonna traumatize them like later on in their lives.
Yeah, and I want to share with our academic stress group, right, with our kids. We have a lot of kids in private school and public school. Even in public school, there's still a lot of academic stress, and a lot of people don't understand that. And kids are having panic attacks. People are not able to have, like sit through a test. People are having test anxiety. People are having to go to the ER because of test anxiety. People are completely losing it because of the pressure that they have to get into college, or the academic pressure they have in terms of like, I need to be in this honor society, I need to take this AP class, right? I just want parents to know that your kid will still be successful even if they don't have like a 4.2 GPA. And what you're not teaching them is the resilience to handle like setbacks and the resilience to handle problems as they come to them in their life, right? So if you don't build that grit within your child, and if you don't show them that, oh, do you remember all the hard things that you did and overcame, right? If they don't have that because they just only got straight A's their whole life and never was able to fail, then when you put them into these real world situations where it's not predictable and it's not like, what am I trying to say?
It's out of their
Kiki?
control.
What am I trying to say?
When you put them in a situation that's outside of their control, then they don't know how to manage it, and they're always striving to be perfect without really taking into consideration, like, you know what, let me just take a step back, I'm going to try my best and then move on. And they're just blocked by it, blocked by the idea that you already put into them.
Sorry, sometimes my thoughts don't come out clearly, but
it's called ADHD, and we embrace it. It's a superpower.
Right. And
because we're not perfect.
We're neurodivergent. I think when I storytell, it makes more sense to me. And I do want to share this story about our med students that we work with. It's when they continuously want to do so perfect, right? Like on this exam or on that exam, or they want to honor in this or honor in that. What happens is when you actually graduate and become a physician, you are placed in a situation most of the time where it's gray. You don't have 100% guarantee that this is the answer, right? Like you have to use your critical thinking skills. You have to be able to regulate yourself in high stress situations, like life or death situations. And if you can't do that because you're having a panic attack just for like not getting an A, how are you going to call the shots as a leader physician when someone's about to die? Right? Like when are you going to rely on yourself to say, I know what I'm doing. Yes, I might make a mistake, but I'm going to bet on myself. My point is that if you force your children to be perfectionists, they will not learn how to overcome that stress that they need to accomplish great things in life. So it's so important that we have this balance of letting them fail and also showing them that they can overcome their failures.
That's beautiful. If you don't allow them to make mistakes, they're not going to take calculated risks.
Right, right. And a lot of times, if you have self-trust, you can have courage and then you can learn and figure it out, right? But if you don't have the courage and you're just like, I guess, textbook smart, then a lot of times you feel very oppressed for the rest of your life. Because you're not, even though like, this is a great example with our physicians, our young physicians being the greatest asset in healthcare, a lot of times they become miserable because they are the greatest asset, yet they don't call the shots. Because the insurance company calls the shots, the hospital calls the shots, the administrators call the shots, right? When really they should be the one who are the thought leaders in this industry.
Period. Do you have anything else to add? Celebrate yourself, own your mistakes, use them as stepping stones, and encourage other people to come out of that bubble that they need to aim for perfectionism. Just encourage everyone, whether you're a teen, whether you're a parent, an auntie, an uncle, whatever you're, if you're a human, encourage people to just aim for their best and do their best.
Yes, I have one more thing. I have one more thing. Perfectionism is so like 2008. Like it's so old. Let's be new. Let's be 2024, where authenticity is greater than perfectionism. And with all these like AI and robots coming out, right? Like let's be human. Let's be human and let's create our own solutions. Let's create our own wealth. Let's create our own healing, and let's create our own community.
Period. She ate that up, left no crumbs. If you want to know more about Spill the Tea Cafe, please reach out on spilltheteacafe.org. You can also email us at info@spilltheteacafe.
On Instagram at spill_the tea cafe.
And And if you are a teen that just came across our videos, we are located in Kaka'ako, right across from Whole Foods. We got snacks, we got boba, PlayStation, games, just
tutors.
show up.
Yes.
Be there or be square.
We
We'll
love
see
you
guys
guys
then.